We are doing many things. One of the main initiatives we work on in this area is the so-called Switch to Green initiative. So that's an initiative under which we have a series of regional programs supporting greener practices by businesses, and SMEs, micro-entrepreneurs in particular. And we also provide in parallel policy support to improve frameworks, regulatory frameworks, policy frameworks for the green economy transformation.
What DEVCO is doing is showcasing entry points for the private sector to become greener. And sometimes this might sound very obvious, but in various countries it's not. We are in the process of exchanging tools and ideas of how to engage with the private sector. We're doing the Switch regional programs. So we have the Switch Asia program, who has been on the ground since 2007, 2008, fairly early. And then we have the Switch Med and Switch Africa Green programs, which are recently been started. So there is an active exchange of experiences between these three programs.
Switch Africa Green started in March 2014 with the EU funding. EU was also involved in the development of the project, and mainly it focuses on policy support to the private sector to ensure that micro, small and medium enterprises can green their businesses, improve on their competitiveness, and also be able to have a sustainable environment in which they operate. We have had a number of enterprises we have worked with so far, and they are almost over 1,000, mostly involving women, employing young people, in which a number of them are being given capacity through the grants provided by the project, where we work through not-for-profit organizations who receive the grants from the project, and then they use those grants to build the capacity of the private sector of micro and small enterprises.
One of the initiatives, for example, that we finance is the Partnership for Action on Green Economy. They receive a huge number of requests, and really robust requests coming from several ministries jointly in developing countries. So this is really a good sign.
We work more at the macroeconomic level to create an enabling environment in which smaller projects as well as other initiatives can benefit from the policies. The logic behind that is that we had so many smaller projects which have produced brilliant results, but none of them has been able to change the way business works. So the sustainable way of doing business has not become the mainstream way of doing business. And the reason behind that was the macroeconomic framework, the financial architecture of the country does not support green initiatives to become mainstream. So you have subsidies, you have taxes, you have incentives. Many of them do not support greening of economy. So we are looking at that picture and helping it to reframe it in a way that it makes it easier for the green economy to become the mainstream way of doing business.
If you have a very narrow resource base, if you have limited energy resources, or you live in a water scarce region, if sustainable consumption production shows you how to do the same thing using less of those resources, you effectively broaden your natural resource base. You can do more with less, and that automatically feeds to some extent into poverty alleviation. In some cases, this focus on sustainable consumption production has proved really visionary and has prepared countries better for the new reality of the 2030 agenda on sustainable development.
The challenges are multiple. One that we have to realize is the scale of the challenge and what we can achieve really with the resources we have. They are quite substantial on the one hand. For example, Switch Asia has allocated more than 100 million euros in the previous phase, and now is allocating a further 100 million euros, or I think even a bit more, for the coming years. So it's really important for us to make the good linkages with other initiatives, and that's what we try to do with our coordination activities between the Switch programs and also other important initiatives that we support, like the UN Partnership for Action on Green Economy. So building these linkages is important. Access to finance as well is extremely important. Providing capacity building, raising awareness, reinforcing intermediary organizations, that's all good. But then if the individual businesses, they do not have access to finance to effectively improve their production practices, then it's very difficult. So that's another area where we're increasingly working, but that's just some of the challenges among many others.